Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And today's video is what if Naruto was a librarian? I hope you guys enjoy. It's been a while since I've uploaded. I've been doing a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's why I haven't been uploading. Started driving and stuff, the usual. But I hope you guys enjoy. Like goal for this video is 20 likes like usual. And let's get started with today's video. We start the story as we see Kaguya Otsutsuki staring at her two sons in the backyard as she'd be sitting on a bench. Her two sons, Hagoromo and Hamura, would be playing with the elements around them as Hagoromo would be controlling the water, while Hamura would be controlling fire in his palm. Kaguya would smile at her two sons as she would find that today will be the day that she'll take them to the human lands or any human lands nearby. Hagoromo and Hamura would be confused as their mother just asked them to follow her as they would and eventually leave the mountain that they were on. Eventually they'd reach the bottom, which they would see a small village nearby entering it. Hagoromo and Hamura would have disguises on or the transformation jutsu on, so no one would think that they're weird, having super white skin and different colored eyes. They'd walk through the streets as Kaguya would be explaining everything to them about what the shops do and what the humans can do. Hagoromo and Hamura would notice that their mother would speak down on these humans that she would call more like they were insects and that they were gods. They'll think nothing of it as they are pretty young, so they continue listening on to their mother as she would eventually arrive at the biggest building near where the chief's building is. Kaguya would enter as she's never entered this building before. In fact, it seemed new. As they would enter, they would see a bunch of books lined up in archways and animals inside. Kaguya would think this is strange as this is indoors and why would there be animals? Eventually, they would see a librarian looking at a book and he would look up seeing the three people who entered. Ah, you've entered the library. As Kaguya raised an eyebrow. They'd arrive near the person who would be reading the book as he would remove his glasses, and obviously this is Naruto. As Naruto would introduce himself as Naruto Uzumaki, as the Uzumaki haven't made their clan big yet, and he is more of a descendant at this point, so he might be the first. Yeah. As Kaguya would just stare at Naruto's hand and not shaking it as Naruto would put it down. I see that you are not an interactive type. As Naruto would give a fake smile. Eventually, he would be talking about what the library is, explaining to them that this has knowledge about everything. Kaguya would be interested as she'd walk through the aisles and find a book about war. As Naruto would explain that that's the recent wars that has happened. It's like a history book. Kaguya would look at him as Naruto would say, okay, would you like to buy that book? As Kaguya would stare at the book and then nod, Naruto would hand his hand out as Naruto would explain how much it cost. Kaguya, when Naruto not looking, would actually form some gold as she would drop it in Naruto's hand, which would surprise him as he's never seen someone drop pure gold like that. As Naruto stared at his hand, thank you. As he would put it in his pocket, as he would look over at the three kids who would be the age of 5, looking around as they would see that their mother grabbed a book, so they would also run off and grab a book as well. Hagoromo would grab a book about nature, and while Hamura would grab a book about people. Naruto would smile as Kaguya would pay more money for them, and they'd eventually leave. That night, Hagoromo and Hamura would be reading the book that they got from the library and find it very interesting as Hamura would explain to Hagoromo about what people have been doing these years. While they would be reading their book about nature and people, Kaguya would be reading about war, and this would spark a new idea in her head. Humans are not good and they've caused mass destruction, causing damage to their environment and to other species, so her plan would be to eradicate or either put them away and make sure that they know their place. On the other hand, Hamura and Hagoromo would like to teach these people on how to become better people. Hagoromo saying that they should cooperate and understand each other's pain so then they can help each other. 3 years happened. Kaguya, Hamura, and Hagoromo would keep on going to the library getting new books. As Naruto, the first time they met Naruto's the age of 15, and now he's the age of 36. As they continued to go to the book, and soon, eventually, they would stop arriving, which would surprise Naruto as other people would arrive as well. Naruto, this one specific day, would be reading his book as he'd hear the door ring as he'd look over to see Hagoromo. It's been a while that he's seen Hagoromo and he's been taller. Naruto would wave over at Hagoromo, who'd be in his teen age at this moment. I would say around like 20 something. Yeah, as Hagoromo would walk over to Naruto, Naruto would look up at him. Hagoromo would ask if he would like, or if he could publish a book. Naruto would raise an eyebrow, as Hagoromo would say that he would like to publish a book about this new energy. Naruto would be intrigued, as he would take Hagoromo to a special room, as Naruto would start to write a book, while Hagoromo would explain everything. This would continue on, as soon Naruto would make about 34 volumes about how to use chakra and its different natures. Naruto would soon learn how to use it in scrolls, and he would start to make scrolls now, with jutsus and how to use them. Hagoromo and Hamura would sometimes arrive, tell him how to use stuff, and this would get Naruto's intrigued in chakra. Eventually, he would learn how to use his own chakra thanks to Hagoromo, and they continue on. Naruto's obsession with chakra would grow to a point where Naruto is very obsessed and very knowledgeable in it. In fact, he's made his own jutsus, which would surprise Hagoromo and Hamura. He's also grown a fascination into seals, and soon, one day, Naruto would be left alone, Hagoromo and Hamura not arriving. Naruto would think that is just a special day and that they are not going to come today, but eventually 2 months would pass and nothing would happen. Naruto would think that they just left and continue on in his bookstore. People would walk in, finding the chakra books and start reading them, and eventually some people would learn how to use chakra. Suddenly, Naruto would feel a huge surge of chakra go through the entire world. In fact, the people who had chakra before had now even more chakra than they did before. Naruto would be confused as he started doing more research, asking people on if they feel any different, and eventually continue writing more. This one specific day, Naruto would be surprised as he'd see Hagoromo and Hamura enter, Hagoromo looking different than he did before, having horns and a special eye in the middle of his forehead. Naruto would look at it confused as Hagoromo would explain everything to Naruto. Naruto would write all of this in a book and soon publish it, as everyone would figure out the truth about the legendary sage of 6 paths who stopped the 10 tails and his mother. Naruto would be very intrigued as Hagoromo would explain about the special eyes of the Sharingan, the Rinnegan, the Renin Sharingan, and the Byakugan. Naruto would soon be basically keeper of all chakra at this point, as he now knows everything about chakra, even more than Hagoromo himself, as Hagoromo would explain to Naruto that he has the 10 tail he's defeated inside him. Naruto would be intrigued, as he is also a seal specialist because, he's obsessed with chakra, as he would look over the seal which would be on Hagoromo's arm. Naruto would look at it as he would ask Hagoromo what he would do with all the beasts, as Hagoromo would look at him. I was thinking about splitting him up into different beasts. As Naruto would raise an eyebrow, Hagoromo would explain that he would like to split them up so then no one can combine them and get the 10 tails again. Naruto would agree, as soon Naruto and Hagoromo would work together to make a new type of seal which would split them up. Eventually, they would successfully make this, as 9-tailed beasts would be formed, each one having more tails than the other, and with the 9th tail being the strongest. The 9 tails would take the form of a fox, as Naruto would stare at it, as Hagoromo would smile. He would tell Naruto that he'd be placing all these tailed beasts in different locations to grow, as he would name each one of them, and the one tails would go into the sand biome, some other places like that, and then eventually you reach Kurama, which Naruto gave the name to. As Naruto would ask where he would put Kurama, Hagoromo would smile and say he would just leave Kurama here in Naruto's care. Naruto would raise an eyebrow as he would say that he's not the strongest shinobi currently, as Hagoromo would say that thanks to him that he was able to split chakra and learn new jutsu, so he should stay with, or Kurama should stay with him. Naruto would accept the gift, and soon Naruto and Kurama would become friends in the library. In fact, everybody who enters the library now knows Kurama as a librarian pet. Eventually, time would go on, and Naruto would realize that everything has changed. The village he's been in is far gone. I'm talking gone, does not exist anymore, and he's just in a tree. The library is now inside a tree. A tree grew over it, and Naruto is too lazy to remove it, so now his library is in a tree. Kurama will be the size of a regular dog. Of course, he can go bigger, as Naruto would be sitting on his chair sleeping. Suddenly, Kurama would walk over to Naruto, headbutting him, as Naruto would burst up, yelling at Kurama why he did that. Kurama's tail would point over at the direction as Naruto would look over it. He suddenly see a light poking out of the doorway. Thanks to the tree has been covering everything, so no one knows that there's a library here. As suddenly a crack would appear. The crack would start to grow bigger and bigger until a point where a light would shine in, which would blind Naruto as he would fall out of his chair. Kurama would be laughing at Naruto as Naruto would yell at Kurama to shut up. Kurama would stare at the direction at the light as soon it would get bigger as the door would open for the first time in a long time. Entering would be a little girl with blonde hair as Naruto would get up and stare at her. She would stare at Naruto and the nine-tailed fox staring back at her as she would stare. Also, Madara did betray the village, except he didn't have Kurama to fight. He had like the 8 tails. Yeah, he had the 8 tails to fight. Because like Kurama was here the entire time, so. Yeah. Now this person would be Tsunade as Naruto would stare at her. Kurama would ask Naruto what they should do with her as Naruto would walk over. What's your name? As Tsunade would stare at Naruto as she would say that she's Tsunade Senju. Naruto would be surprised as he's never heard of that last name before. Naruto would sit down in his chair and ask Tsunade a bunch of questions on what happened in the outside world because, you know, Naruto was stuck in this library the entire time. So Naruto explained to Naruto about the villages that have been formed, like the Leaf Village, the Sand Village, and the Cloud Village, and how the tailed beasts have been split to other villages. Naruto would be confused at this, as Kurama would have a huge dislike to the point where they, you know, split every tailed beast to have their own village, which Kurama did not like very much. Naruto would ask why Tsunade is here and how she found it. As Naruto explained that she sensed a huge amount of chakra in this tree, so she decided to break into it. Naruto and Kurama would have a sweat drop in this, as Naruto would ask, what does she want? Tsunade would say that she wants to become stronger so that she can help her team, as Naruto would be interested as he would go into the back, grabbing 2 books as he would place them down. Tsunade would look at the 2 books Naruto placed down as she would stare at them. Naruto would explain that one of the books helps with healing and the other with chakra manipulation. Tsunade would thank Naruto as she would grab the books and leave. Throughout the months, Naruto would keep on seeing Tsunade enter, and sometimes even with this other kid, which had white hair and some red marks under his eyes, which she called Jiraiya. Jiraiya would ask Naruto for some inappropriate books, which Naruto would get a switch up, and luckily for Jiraiya, he did. So Naruto would just give Jiraiya about human anatomy and some other stuff. Jiraiya was also very interested in seals, as he was also interested in Uzumakis, which Naruto would be surprised at. He thought he was the only Uzumaki, as Jiraiya would explain to him that there used to be a whole clan of Uzumakis. Or no, there's a whole clan of Uzumakis. In fact, the Uzumakis have their own village. Naruto would be confused as it turned out that Hagoromo, thanks to his sons, to his sons, he made the Uzumaki clan to represent Naruto because, you know, the Uzumaki clan are very advanced in sealing and chakra manipulation. So it made sense that Hagoromo called the entire village, or made a clan called the Uzumakis. Naruto would be grateful for Hagoromo as he figured out that Hagoromo died after a few years after splitting the tailed beast because, you know, kicking a tailed beast out of your body can greatly damage you, so it makes sense that Hagoromo died. Eventually, Naruto would see Tsunade and Jiraiya, even this one kid, Orochimaru, but he didn't really like Orochimaru, a weird feeling about him, but he still gave books to Orochimaru and the rest. And soon the first war, would end. The first war would end. And this is when Naruto realized that his life is completely boring. In fact, nobody comes here anymore. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru don't come here anymore, as well as they've got every information that they need. Tsunade's healing is so much better than it was before, and her chakra manipulation is 10 times better as well. Jiraiya learned more jutsus than he did in canon, and his Sage mode is actually perfected because of Naruto's books. Yes, Naruto knows about summoning. In fact, he was the one who made the summoning. After making the tailed beast, Naruto asked Hagoromo if they could make animals to summon, and which Hagoromo would agree, so Naruto basically made every single summoning scroll ever made. So yeah, Naruto would finally feel like they should do something. So Naruto would go to his back room and start making a seal on the ground. Kurama would walk over behind as he would stare at it. What is that? As Naruto would explain that this is a death seal. Kurama would be confused as Naruto would say that this seal would be able to bring him to a point in time where everything is much more interesting. Kurama would think it's dumb that Naruto would just kill himself and then bring himself back when everything's interesting, as Naruto would say that when you're as smart as him, that everything is brilliant now. So he would like to see something better. So Naruto would activate the seal, as Kurama would decide to go with Naruto as well, and both of them would die on the spot, the library being left behind. We go to a few more years later, the second Great Ninja War would happen, as Kushina and Minato would get a baby. Naruto, feeling this would be the most interesting time of all, would decide to go into this baby, and luckily for him, the baby would be named Naruto Uzumaki as well. Everything would happen in canon about the Nine Tails attack, the Nine Tails attack, as Kurama would actually be surprised that he's released and he's giant now. He'd also be very pissed that he's been controlled by this masked figure, but wouldn't mind being sealed into Naruto. Thanks to Naruto being friends with Kurama earlier, Kurama wouldn't attack Minato or Kushina, as he'd see Naruto in the basket, so he would get sealed inside Naruto. Leaving Kushina behind. Minato would die thanks to the Reaper Death Seal, but yeah, not thanks, but unfortunately, Minato would die thanks to the Reaper Death Seal. Naruto's secret about Kurama would be kept a secret thanks to Hiruzen. Kushina would take good care of Naruto, and Naruto would have a normal life, which would surprise Naruto, as Naruto back then would actually be born an orphan, and that's why he made the giant library, so he can see many people enter with families. This would be Naruto's first time with a mother, so he would act like a normal child, and thanks to all the books that he has made, he knows how to act like a child, and even a mannered child, because Naruto is still an Uzumaki. The Uzumaki clan did crash, but Kushina is the leader of the Uzumaki clan in the village. There are other Uzumakis because they did escape with Kushina, so there is a Uzumaki district and Naruto lives there. He also made a bunch of friends and goes to the academy, where he would meet Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, Hinata, basically everybody. His two best friends would be Shikamaru and Choji, as Shikamaru would be the smartest, but not smart as Naruto, as Naruto did make everything. So Naruto and Shikamaru would have a lot of shogi battles, while Choji would just watch eating his chips. Naruto also, who do you think the ship should be? Because I don't know who the ship should be. So comment down who the ship should be, and I'll probably put her in the thumbnail next time. Anyways, yeah, but this will be the end of this part. It's been a while since I recorded, so I'm kind of rusty at this. My throat is very dry, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Remember, like goal is 20 likes. Please subscribe, turn notifications, share this with your friends. That made no sense, but I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.